Hello, I'm Joseph Giarraputo, the President and Editorial Director of Global Finance, speaking to you from New York. Welcome to this discussion with Mr. Admassu Tadesse, who's speaking from Nairobi. He's the Group Managing Director and CEO of the Eastern and Southern African Trade and Development Bank, TDB. In its most recent issue, Global Finance recognized TDB for outstanding innovation in trade finance for a blockchain solution that's keeping intra-African trade and supply chains moving. Now, here's Mr. Tadesse.
Hi, Joseph. Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
Sir, please start by telling us about TDB's history, development, and status.
TDB, Joseph, is a specialist financial institution that operates in just about half of the African continent. We do a great deal of trade finance. That's our majority business, but we also do project finance, specifically renewable energy, amongst others. And of course, we support SMEs and financial institutions as well. We're about 35 years old, and we have a very innovative capital structure, unlike the typical multilateral banks that are often known. We are not just sovereign owned, but we also have ownership by institutional investors, such as pension funds, insurance companies, and the like. So TDB is a little bit of a third generation type multilateral bank, but we are specialists and very much focused on trade in the private sector.
Okay. TDB launched a trade finance fund over and above its normal trade finance operations. Why did you do this?
Well, we have had very strong growth over the years, and we realized that there was limits to how much we can do on our own balance sheet. So we decided to start seeking out partners so we can leverage and bring on board other money onto our various platforms so that we can do more with other partner funding as opposed to just using our own capital. So it was a strategy for leverage and for scaling up without distressing our own equity.
Okay. As we've reported, TDB is a leader in the use of blockchain in trade finance, not only in Africa, but also globally. Tell us more about it.
Well, Joseph, I think the COVID pandemic did act as a spur of sorts. We had already been experimenting with this innovative method of doing documentation for trade finance through blockchain for some time. But then with the COVID pandemic, we started to roll up our sleeves and very seriously start using blockchain to do trade finance transactions. The reason we did it is because there were delays with movement of documentation. Typically, trade finance deals involve shipping documentation. It's documentation heavy. And what we found is that this distributed ledger facility that is embedded within the blockchain setup allows you to do real-time information exchange, mutual uploading, verification of information, and basically leapfrogging the need to move documentation across with couriers. So typically it would take a couple of weeks, sometimes 3 weeks, to move documentation back and forth. With blockchain, you can actually do it live, and you can actually cut the lead time down to 2-3 hours. So it's quite a significant savings of time, efficiency-wise. And then, of course, you have other benefits where you reduce your carbon footprint, and you, of course, enhance the clarity of the transaction by having everybody having simultaneous access to electronic digital information.
Do you see post-pandemic, that blockchain will be a permanent part of your operations?
Yeah, we really think so because it's efficient, not just in terms of time, but also in terms of cost. Our various African partners, suppliers, and clients have come to understand the power and the promise of this kind of way of doing business. So the answer is a resounding yes.
Okay. All right. Africa and other developing parts of the world continue to be battered by the COVID-19 pandemic. How is TDB responding?
Well, the first thing we did was try to ensure that we could keep our doors open for business, make sure that our staff were healthy, and we had our business continuity arrangements kicking in. But then what we did was we realized that new partnerships and deeper partnerships would be very important to ensure that we're well resourced to respond in the context of what was happening globally, with also some pulling back by financial institutions, capital markets also kind of being risk averse. So we established a number of new partnerships and we deepened existing ones so that we had very strong strategic funding partners who could help us ensure that we can keep operating and doing all the things that we normally would do. At the same time, we did launch special facilities to help our clients and our member states import life-saving PPE materials, ventilators, and of course, providing other facilities for safe washing of hands, among other things.
Okay. Mr. Tadesse, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.